You are listening to the Standards Desk of News from The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards, with Matthew Childs and Cindy Parakill.
Hey, Cindy Parakill.
Hey, Matthew Childs.
Well, shall we have the Standards Desk of News?
Let's do it.
Yes, this is the Standards Desk of News. News about standards and standards in the news. And this time we are covering stories from September 2024.
And we start with the ISO Annual Meeting 2024.
Yes, taking place from the 9th to the 13th of September, the theme of this year's ISO Annual Meeting was Breaking Boundaries, and how ISO standards can propel innovation, quality and sustainability. The meeting was hosted by Icontech, Colombia's national standards body, and took place in Cartagena de Indias, which Lonely Planet describes as the undisputed queen of the Caribbean coast. It brought together more than 10,000 participants from over 170 countries, both in person and online, and it focused on three main areas: responsible AI for all, and how AI can be used to positively transform society while upholding human values and rights; the future of human capital, how international standards can create value for people, organisations and society; and sustainable and inclusive growth, how international standards can help with economic progress, climate action and a just net zero transition.
And a good example of this focus on sustainable growth is the new guidelines ISO UNDP PAS 53002. Launched at the ISO annual meeting, it has been developed in partnership with the United Nations Development Programme, the UNDP. Available for free download, it provides organizations with a framework to systematically manage and optimize their impact on sustainable development, and in doing so, support the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. These guidelines will evolve into the first international standard for the United Nations SDGs. And the next ISO annual meeting in 2025 will be held in Rwanda.
And talking about a Commonwealth country, which Rwanda is, announcing the fourth phase of the Commonwealth Standards Network.
BSI has been granted approval from the UK government to deliver the next stage of the Commonwealth Standards Network, or CSN, from August 2024 to March 2025. In 2018, BSI launched the CSN as a network to facilitate increased participation in international standards and to increase the adoption of international standards in developing Commonwealth countries to further economic prosperity and developmental outcomes. To date, there are 53 CSN members and 41 associates. This fourth phase of the CSN will focus on developing the network, increasing the collaboration and sharing good practice between CSN members, investment support, training and workshops on how using international standards can support inbound investment, and enhancing the effectiveness of national standards bodies, developing practical guidance to assist NSBs to demonstrate the positive impacts of international standards to their stakeholders. The activities will have a particular emphasis on Pacific and small island developing states and will be aligned with the ongoing Standards Partnership Program to enhance the impact of those projects.
Yes, and check out the podcast feed for an episode on the Standards Partnership Program.
Indeed. The rise and rise of QR codes.
The QR code, or Quick Response Code, was originally invented in 1994 to overcome the limited storage capacities of the barcode, and initially used to track parts in vehicle manufacturing. It's a type of 2D matrix barcode made up of symbols which consist of an array of nominally square modules arranged in an overall square pattern. These days, QR codes are everywhere, heavily used in advertising, marketing, manufacturing, warehouse stock control, ticketing, product labelling and product payment. And the international standard that defines the QR code, ISO IEC 18004, has recently been updated to make sure it takes account of the latest technological trends. And finally, the launch of a new standard for innovation management.
Yes, this is the news of the publication of ISO 56001, the first global auditable standard for innovation management systems. The new standard provides requirements and guidance for establishing, implementing, maintaining, and improving an innovation management system. It applies to all types of organizations, regardless of their type, size, or the products and services they provide. ISO 56001 is important because it equips organizations with the framework to manage innovation systematically, reducing uncertainty and increasing the likelihood of achieving significant benefits from new products and services. And listen out for a future episode on that very standard.
Yes, indeed. Now, a reminder that you can find links to some of the stories we have featured today in the show notes. And the show notes are also where you can find details of our socials and all the other ways to get in touch with us here on The Standards Show. Well, thank you, Cindy Parakill.
Thank you, Matthew Charles.
For September 2024, that's the Standards Desk of News.
You have been listening to The Standards Desk of News from The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.